A very warm welcome to the third episode of the Watch Talks. Today we have amongst us two very distinguished guests, Mr. Vivek Sharan and Mr. Satyajit Ghosh. Mr. Vivek Sharan is the state in charge Bihar Water for People, and Mr. Satyajit Ghosh is the coordinator Bihar program Water Aid. A very warm welcome to both of you, sir, in this episode of the Watch Talks. Both the organizations have done exemplary work in the area of providing improved access to safe water, clean toilets and good hygiene practices to the people of Bihar. So sir, we would like to start our discussion with what are your areas of intervention and what techniques of intervention have you employed in the implementation of your programs. Over to us, sir.
A very warm welcome again. So Mr. Charan, can you please acquaint us with the key interventions of Water for People in Bihar, and can you please tell us in which districts Water for People is engaged in Bihar?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, Water for People is working in India since 2006, and in Bihar we are working from 2011. And our tagline is everyone forever. That is, we work for water and sanitation for every people, every public institution and every community, so that water and sanitation can be reached there to every people. And along with this, we have one donor called One Drop, and One Drop and Water for People has one ideology of ABC. Let me clarify this ABC. ABC is access, behavior and capital. That means that this is the holistic approach of Water for People, through which we try to access the people, the community with water and sanitation. We try to motivate or try to change their behavior through B component, that is behavior change, which is SABC thing, and C is capital, because whenever you talk about water and sanitation, and if you want to provide them the facility there, so capital is required very much. It is the first and the foremost thing which is required for providing water and sanitation. So our idea is to provide capital, that is through microfinance institutions. We piloted this thing in our area, and through that people can get loans for water and sanitation thing. So this is our innovative idea for the first time. And concerning in which district we are working right now in one district, because our tagline is everyone forever. So we take one small area for that, and we work there till it is we provide everything there and it is sustainable. That means ki, through improvement of or capacity building of government institutions, community, grassroots level institutions, everything, when they are empowered, then only we withdraw from that area. That water and sanitation will be sustained there. So this is our approach through which we work in our area.
Mr. Ghosh, welcome again. So what are the key priority areas for your organization in Bihar, and what are your strategic interventions in Bihar?
So Water Aid was founded in early 80s, and it was founded in UK, and that was the year when we all know there is a UN year for some water, and then it's spread out to the 34 countries right now. We are working in India in 11 states, 22 districts, and in Bihar is one of them. Secondly, the Water Aid, when evolved, it's an organization that is slowly in the evolving process, and still the Water Aid is evolving at much faster pace. And I would say that we have a very unique approach called a district-wide approach. And when we talk about this district-wide approach, we always talk about that any programs that we want to do, it cannot be fulfilled unless there are two sector actors, or you say that two important actors play its role. One is the community and second is the government. So in a district-wide approach, what we do, we take the areas where we can explore some innovative models, we can actually do something for the deprived community through these exploratory models. And then we show this model to the government, and when this government adopt this model, then definitely it is a very big scale that you can say that yes, something innovative has been done and it has been reached to the last mile marginalized community and all the communities first. Second is that the Water Aid and the district-wide approach always willing to support a government through its technical support. And when we talk about this technical support, it's been in the 4 areas. First is the safe water, second is the sanitation, safe sanitation, third is the hygiene. So when we talk about this technical support again, then it's regarding that how the government functionaries who are ready to support through an efficient service delivery mechanism, how their systems where they want to provide some safe services to the wash services to the people, how it gets streamlined or how it can get more robust or it can reach to the last mile of the community, which we terms in Bihar is a Mahadalit community, basically for the Mushar, Pasi and other community that is mentioned in the Mahadalit mission. You can go to the website, you can find the Mahadalit mission. So the Water Aid always try to cover 100% peoples who are at the marginalized, basically the Mahadalit peoples as well as the Samdalit peoples, and try to leverage the fund from the government, try to support the government through a technical capacity building or say some technical notion to the technical capacity building, or you can say that through a technical demonstration so that the fund for the government get leveraged to all the peoples. And currently we are working in the 2 districts. Rightly, one is the Madhubani, second is the Gaya. We are planning to intervene in a Buxar and Bhagalpur, that is on the water quality issues, mainly the water quality issues, the arsenic mitigation. Madhubani and the Gaya that we are intervening is on the water quality issue as well as the water security issue. Second, also with the safe sanitation and the hygiene promotion. Also in the Madhubani that we are focusing on the peoples who are affected by the flood. So the wash in emergency, I would say, is one of the priority areas in the Madhubani. In Patna, we are planning to intervene in the Patna Municipal Corporation on the MHM part, and we are also trying to intervene at Gaya on the MHM part, and that is with the support of the agency UNFPA.
Thank you.
Mr. Sharan, as you just mentioned that Water for People is employing SABC as a powerful communication tool to bring about behavior change in the communities. So I would like you to tell our audience, to tell our viewers what SABC is actually. What is its full form? Because till now we have been hearing about SBCC, and as far as I know, you have replaced it with SABC. So what is SABC, how effective it is, and what in your opinion has been the visible impact of SABC in bringing about behavior change of the communities? And other thing is, do you think it can ensure sustainability of behavior change in the communities?
You rightly said that SABC is a concept which is given by Water for People, and in other areas, in other parlance, other development areas, it is called SBCC. First of all, I want to say this full form of SABC is Social Art for Behavioral Change. This is, as the name suggests, that social art, we use social art for behavioral change. Not only we communicate or inform people about how to change behavior, but we use social art for that. Social art which is available everywhere, in every region, every locality, social art is available, and people connect with those social arts which is of their locality. So if you talk in their language from their locality, you put something, you take something from their locality, then it will be very much easy to communicate with them. So you can link or you can bridge with the community on that basis. So this is our idea of bringing this thing, because giving only information can't change anything. because information is available, ample information is available everywhere, in social media, in TV, newspapers, and everywhere it is there. But if you can't connect with emotionally with them, it is not possible that they will go to, they will change their behavior. So to connect with them emotionally, we tried this SABC approach, and this SABC approach we are implementing in our project area since 2015. So from 2015 we are using this, and in social art for behavioral change we have different types of methodology for that. One of these is MDS. It is multidisciplinary show. Multidisciplinary show is something which includes every form of every form of art. Every form of art is there. That is, it has the drama, it has the puppetry, it has the video show, it has and other thing. Storytelling is also there. So everything includes MDS, and through MDS we want to inspire people. Just look at this. The MDS has the story in it with lights and all those things, so that people come to see that MDS show, and through these we give them the information on water, sanitation and hygiene, and regarding their behavior. So they start thinking about that in that process. And after that show we also have some quiz competition and all those things, so that how much they are retaining. So this is our also idea, how people retain, and especially the children and the adolescent group, they are very much interested in it. They respond to those questions. Second one is the street play. So street play is also there, which include safe water handling. The topics includes in street play: safe water handling, sanitation, use of toilet, then operation and maintenance in school wash, and hygiene. 4 things are included in that. Other than that, we also have film screening for the smaller community. And recently we have introduced storytelling thing, because the storytelling in India and especially in Bihar, we have many forms of storytelling. This ala udal type of thing, or nat natni, or different types of things. So we are also introducing this thing, and through these storytelling concept, we give them the idea of water and sanitation, how to use good quality water, what is the quality of water, how to use toilets for that, and how to and why hand washing is important, and how to do this hand washing process. So all these things are included in it. And we have seen that recently, 2 years back, we have one third party evaluation of this regarding this thing. So we saw that about 60% change has been ensured in, especially in hand washing process, through these SABC process. Other than SABC, we also provide them the facilities, so that not only the information is given, but the facilities are also present there. That means the running water is there through our hand pumps, community hand pumps, and soap is also there. Soap is also available there. A special place of hand washing is there. So all these things integrated in integrated approach, they very much impact the population, and they are very much doing these things. And other than that, we are also connecting with farmers. Farmers group are also there. So farmers are also advocating this type of things in their area. And not only this, and not only hand washing, water hygiene, but today's most important concept is water conservation. So we are also giving them idea, giving them information regarding how to save water in agriculture, how to use new technology like sprinklers, like drip irrigation. Earlier they were very much reluctant on that, but now they are using that and saving water on that. Not only saving water, but also electricity is also saved on that drip irrigation and all those things. So through these, we feel that it is a very good concept and really impacting the population there. And recently, I think the population of Shivhar, according to the 2011 census, is around 6.5 lakhs. So we reach about 3 to 4 lakh people we have reached till yet, and we have the target of reaching the other population by 2022.
So you feel that social art can bring about a change in the behavioral practices of the people, and you can reach to a larger audience by using it.
Yeah.
So you have very beautifully presented us about the use of SABC in your intervention area. So in light of the massive spread of COVID-19, can you please share with us how it is being employed, SABC is being employed in related to promoting of hand washing behaviors in other areas in Bihar?
SABC, social art for behavior change, is very much employed for behavior change in our area, so Shivhar. And other than that, we also have developed many IEC materials on that for the whole community. And right now we are only concentrating in Shivhar district, so I can't say how much it is applied in other part of the Bihar, but in Shivhar we are doing this, and through not only with IEC materials, but with wall painting, wall writings, and with one-to-one interaction as well, and also using the telephones. That means the mobiles, we are also using mobiles to communicate regarding this thing, and through mobiles and through small clippings on hand washing which we have. So we transfer that hand washing clippings to members of every community members through Panchayati Raj institutions, that is through Mukhya, through ward members, so that they show these clippings to every people of their area, how to wash hand and what is the benefit of washing hands with this. So this clippings can be used for in all over Bihar, all over India, for that purpose, for giving the idea of hand washing and how to use hand washing, and what is the benefits of these hand washings. So this is the thing.
So my next question is directed to Mr. Ghosh. What are the ways in which you are trying to engage with the community-based organizations, the Gram Sabhas, the Gram Panchayats, the women groups that are operating in the community in the wash interventions?
So basically water aid, when engaged with the community, entire process of the water aid is community led. So water aid feels that if the end peoples, or you say the people who is the actually in the last and marginalized in the social ladder, if not get engaged, then it's very futile to take any of the intervention. So when we want to engage with the people, so first of all what we do, that we always call the meetings as usual, we sit with the peoples, and before doing that we always do the participatory exercises. So participatory exercises basically is that we engage with the people with non-informed manner. So you are not going to inform the people that what purpose we came, and basically what we do, that we get into the peoples and mix with them and try to know that who is marginalized, because if you see the entire village structure in Bihar, in any of the places, say mainly for the Bihar, it's very diverse, and who is marginalized and what the indicators of the marginalization we are searching for, basically in terms of water, sanitation and hygiene, it's very difficult. So we try to gather all this information through a participatory process. A participatory process could be the focus group discussions, right? Participatory process could be a simple walk. We know it's technically a transact walk. Participatory process could be a something related to some sort of immersion sort of thing, where we going to stay with the peoples and know about them. And it is always a non-informed process. When we say the non-informed process, that we are mixing with the peoples with a very, without any structural background, or say the very without any structure. So it's a simple engagement to mingle with the people, to know their aspirations, know their view about the water, sanitation and hygiene, and we get the view, then we can rank those views, who is the people at the marginalized level. Say for, if you get back to the peoples in basically a Mushar or Bhuiya community, then you are going to know that those peoples are mostly engaged in the livelihood activities. So in this livelihood activities, they are so much engaged in the livelihood activities because they don't have land, and even they are not getting ample wages that to run their livelihood, or say that they don't have the savings. So they 24 hours thinking about their livelihood activity. So the engagement with these peoples are very sensitive, very participatory, and when we are going to engage with them, we try to know them that what is their aspirations, as what is their priority. For example, I can give you the example, very interesting example, is that in Gaya, when we are engaging with the fluoride affected peoples in one of the block, Gaya Nagar block, we came to know that peoples are drinking the water which is fluoride contaminated, but that is not under their priority list, and peoples are also getting crippled. Basically, you can see easily the knock knees of the peoples. So they basically don't know what they are drinking, and even that is not their priority, because they are much more interested in their livelihood, the daily wage labor. So now when we are engaging with the peoples, you are going to know the first is their livelihood, but second, that you need to know that what is their how they see their own marginalization. So that is the first part of the engagement we do with the peoples with a participatory process. That is the first part. Second part, we try to engage with the systems that is already placed in the Gram Panchayat, that is called a mandatory body, the elected mandatory body, because it's a body that is being actually accountable at the lower level. Now you know about the 73rd amendment, and right now even the Bihar government have decentralized this Har Ghar Nal Ka Jal into the ward level in the non-quality affected areas. So it's a part of the Gram Panchayat. Even some of the schemes are routed out to the Gram Panchayat. So Gram Panchayat is one of the body that we are always engaged with them in their local plans, try to influence the local plan that all the peoples get access. Third engagement we do with the peoples at the block level, the block development officer or the block level peoples. And fourth is the engagement at the district level, district water sanitation mission, and the fifth level engagement is the state level. So if you could see that there is a two level of engagement. One is the demand side, that is the peoples, the marginalized people we are engaging with to raise the demand, know their aspirations, and second is the supply side. So you can see the state level, district level and the block level are the service delivery agents. So our engagement with the peoples at the level is different. When we talk about this, there is a certain level of engagement with the peoples at the supply side is with a different strategy and with a different element, but the WaterAid main role, how to merge both the supply and demand and provide the safe services to all the communities, all the communities with a safe water, safe sanitation and with the changed hygiene behavior.
So, are you engaging women groups in any way in stimulating behavior changes in the communities?
Yes, we are engaging with the women groups in stimulating the behavior change, and basically when we talk about this women group, we actually see the peoples who are basically, we are not into the process of any SHG formation. Yes, we have got a CBOs called user committees, which are mainly comprised, most of them are comprised of the women, because when we do something, we always talk about the sustainability of the entire wash infrastructure, or say for any of the capital component that we are providing to them. Capital component means the infrastructure part. So the engagement of the women, when we engaging with the women, we try to ensure the access part of these peoples are equitable. So if I talk about a hand pump that is being installed by the water aid, or you say it has been installed by the Gram Panchayat with support from the water aid, or it has been entirely done by the government, then we try to work with the women members, or we work with the women groups, right? Say for the Jivika, or we talk about any of the women group that has been existing over there. Earlier we have got a village sanitation committees, right? Village water sanitation committee. Right now it's been taken over by the ward implementation committee. So we try to engage with those women, so the access, that is any of the access, say for sanitations, say for the safe water, it get reached to the peoples, reached to the each and every household where the women are there, working women are there, girls are there very equally first. Second, the behavior change part, yes, we are definitely going to talk about this behavior change part, but we have got a target communities for the behavior change part. First is the mothers who are taking care of their children, that is one of the part. Pregnant women, that is one of the part. Third is the adolescent girls, which are also been one of the part of us. And each target group have their own set of perception and one set of behaviors regarding the particular access to particular services. Say for, if I talk about particularly about the MHM, there is a particular set of taboo and certain set of perception among the women members as well as the elder women members, as well as in the community among the male members. So we target the adolescent girls, we target the women particularly on those issues, but we also try to cover other influencing members, like you say about the old ladies in the household. We talk about even the male members. We always think about the MHM is the women issue, but we also target the male members, and with the way making the women's at the center, we target all the peoples who are there who are directly or indirectly linked with that. So the women is one of the target groups, women is one of the focus part. If you read the water aid strategy, water aid is one of the part, and we always talk about the equitable access. And if I see some of the recent articles in the newspapers about the incidences that is happening all over the country, then I could say that the peoples who are basically from the marginalized community, when I say the marginalized community, peoples from the Dalit and Mahadalit community, women are very much so suppressed and so subjugated. So our main target is that how to bring those women in terms of access, in terms of empowerment through the WASH services.
So Mr. Sharan, can you please tell us, based on your experience in Shivhar district, for a persistent work related to the providing safe water, sanitation and hygiene facilities in that district. So what were the main challenges that you faced in doing your work over in that district?
When we are working in any of the area, especially area like Shivhar, which is the most underdeveloped area of Bihar district, Bihar state, so it is quite difficult to work there. And when we started our work in Shivhar in 2011, it was the time when there was no civil society organization there. There was no existence of civil society organization. So first of the challenges which we faced was to have the CSOs, local CSOs, because our ideology is, the Water for People ideology is to develop and capacitate the local people, local organization, local CSO. So we tried very hard, and we found 3 or 4 NGOs which were not working, but which were just on paper. So we picked them up. So that was the first challenge. Then we picked them up and we capacitated them. We trained them how they can be doing work for the community, for the society, especially in water and sanitation work and hygiene, of course. So and then capacitating them and getting them all the government regulations done, so that whether it is ATG, what we call 12B and something like that. So they have to get all those things, and ultimately they also have to get this FCRA for them, because the foreign funds can't be given otherwise if they don't have the FCRA account for that. So first challenge was getting those. Then the second challenge was that at that time community were not aware about that any developmental work can be done, or any water and sanitation thing can be done, or they are drinking some water which is not of the adequate quality, because Srivard is the district which has the problem of iron contamination. So much iron contamination is there. So people were unaware about that. So, and our thing is that when we provide the infrastructure, water and sanitation infrastructure for that, we for the ownership sake, we want to have contribution from the community for which it is provided. So we have to get that 10% amount of the total from the total amount. The community has to contribute that. So it was really a great challenge to get that 10% amount of 10% from the community. So our people who are working there, our staff who are working there, they rigorously went to the community. They tell them about this, why this is required, why what is the how the bad quality water is affecting their health and affecting their earnings as well, because this is the vicious circle. When once you get in it, you lose your job, you lose your remuneration, all those things. So and they also, so we have one of the what you say techniques of at what cost, we say at what cost, through which we show the community that how much amount is required if one hand pump is there, and if you want to maintain it for 10, 20, 30 years, then how much operation and maintenance cost is required. So by calculating all these things, they get the idea why this is required. And wherever we go, we give this community water point, this deep borewell for water. So we form water user committee, WUC, which is called. So it is the grassroots level organization, you may say, which is responsible for operation and maintenance of that water body, which is formed by the local members who are using that water point. So, and we also ensure that in that committee, the governing body, that is president, secretary, or treasurer, it must be at least 2 of them should be from the from ladies, from women. And this water system which we are installing, it should be in the area of marginalized community, so that if you put a water system in a area which is dominated by forward caste or anything, so they may in future can't come here, or they can't get water from this area. So our idea is to give that water point in the area which is of the localized community. So, and getting contribution from that localized community, from that marginalized community, where earnings very low, very less. So it was really a great challenge for that. And other than that, we are also providing with the support of government water sanitation system, water and sanitation system in schools and public institutions, that is health centers as well. So earlier they were not of the idea that what is this model type of SWAS, school water and sanitation system, which has hand washing facility, which has deep borewell for drinking water, which has hand washing facility, which has toilet, urinals, all those things. So getting convinced the government and the principal of that school was also one of the challenges. But anyhow, we are now here, so we contributed in almost 210 schools. We have provided this water and sanitation facility in 210 schools in Shivar, and about in 4 of the PHCs we have provided these things. So getting this O&M thing is also one of the challenges which we are facing, and we are trying our best to do this through Water Users Committee, and of course for sustainability, because earlier it was also one of the problem when there is no local level mechanics is available at the ground. Earlier it was by PhD, but after their retirement no new appointment is there. So we also created a pool of local mechanics, which we call them Jal Bandhus. It is called Jal Bandhu, Friends of Water. So they are available there. If any breakdown is there, so they go and treat it. And likewise, we also have the system of the Nirmal Bandhus, or the Safai Karmcharis, who are doing this Safai work in toilets of schools and all those things for their sustainability. So getting them on board is also one of the challenges to get this idea. So these are some of the I think challenges which we are facing, which we faced, and in fact not facing right now, but we faced earlier, and now actually everybody knows about our work, and even government is also knowing about these things. DMDDC, they also know about these things, so now it is very easy for us.
Mr. Ghosh, WaterAid has been working in the wash domain since a long time. So what do you think, which are the areas which have been neglected and which need to be focused upon more? And secondly, what constraints have you faced in the implementation of your developmental programs?
So, in order to address this question, then I would categorize in two sections. One is the issue-based sections, where we can see the certain thematic areas which are very much into the research, ongoing research, and already the research has been done, the issues. And second is that the structural problems. So if I categorize the structural problems, then I will definitely go to the operational implementation part of any of the schemes or the service delivery mechanism. So let me start with this, the thematic part, that what are the challenges, or you see that what are the areas that is not been addressed currently. And first area that I would say that not been properly addressed is the water quality areas. So if you could see that the water quality areas, basically when you talk about the BIS parameters, or you see about if you get back to the documents, the international document, you can see the safe water have a 64 parameters, and there is a long list of parameters. Even you get back to the American Public Health Standard, then you want to get the long list of parameters, and there is a lot of discussion that is going on. So the water quality sections is one of the part that is being need proper attention. When I say the proper attention, then it means that certain areas in Bihar, the peoples are drinking the unsafe water, and those unsafe water, we know something about the unsafe water, basically on the basis of some of the research that is done in the past. Some of the peoples, like from Jadavpur University, one professor have did the research, and they found the arsenic in areas of your Saran and Bhojpur, these areas, and the arsenic were discovered, right. Later, it's the effort of the government. The government have considered that there are the areas which we need to get intervened, and government has started this intervention, right. Second part is that the areas which is affected by the fluoride, government also recognizes there is areas which are fluoride affected. They have got a special programs in a health department, as well as the PhD is doing a lot of work to mitigate the fluoride problems, and it has been also been considered. But if you talk about the other contaminants, right, in a recent research paper that is introduced, they found that Gaya there is a uranium. So I don't say that there is a uranium in the Gaya, or I cannot comment on there is a uranium in Gaya, but there are the research that is going on, on these issues of the water quality. So the proper forum, proper networks, and the organization like a Water for People, WaterAid, and other people who are working in the water quality issue need to be informed, and they need to be networked when you're talking about all these issues, and we go for the proper implementation with the community first. Second issue that is linked with the water quality is the water security issues. So if you could see that in the Jal Jeevan Mission and even the Har Ghar Nal Ka Jal, we are already covering all the wards with a pipe water supply. So you can imagine that the level of draft of water, a level of water that we need to suck from the ground, and these are all been, this all drilling has been done to the confined aquifer, the aquifer that is been filled a million years before, and we are also exploring to the confined aquifer, because we say that the confined aquifer is very safe and the shallow aquifer is not safe. So we are taking out the water, and I could see the people even in the urban areas, even the rural areas, are using the water for their non-essential purpose. So how are we going to address that issue? That is being completely enacted. That is mainly the behavior issues, and it need to get informed very properly to the people. Now I could see that in Hindi newspapers, when this rainfall was starting, and we have got a good rainfall this year, they said that the Gaya water level has been increased. So people are very much will say that why you not going to use the water for the non-essential purpose, because your water level is intact. So people need to get informed with the proper messages that yes, there is the issue of water scarcity, there is the water scarcity we are going to face, the level that we are drafting the water, and irrigation is a major consumption. So you could see that when we talking about that giving the electricity free to the farmer, then your drilling and the drafting of the water definitely going to increase. So that is a policy question. Second, so these are the areas, you say the irrigation and even the industry. The industry is one of the major users of the water. Then it comes to the household. So we need to be very aware about the question of the water audit. So the household water audit, industrial water audit, and irrigation water audit, these haven't taken place very thoroughly. Industrial water audit is done by the TERI, so it's there. You can see the industrial water audit. They have did the thermal power water audit, and the household water audit, WaterAid is doing the household water audit through the Jal Chowpal processes in Uttar Pradesh. And we also, even interesting part is that when we have got a government in 2016, Government of Bihar basically the PhD, allies of the WaterAid, and all these people have adopted the Jal Chowpal. And I think that when we are going to get the next government, we definitely going to go do some robust water audit, and we can have some water security plan when we have got the next government, so we can address that issue. So water security, the drafting of the water is also linked to the water quality problem. So if you can see that the arsenic issue, so more you going to drill, more you going to take the water, then definitely the rock structure which contain the various sediment, it will come out. So it will going to create a lot of problems for the health. So water quality and water security, both the areas which have been neglected in terms of research, I say, in terms of behavior change, in terms of assessments, right? So these are the things completely been neglected. So I could see the number of research that took place in arsenic. There is number of research. So you can see the Far Ganga project. This is also been, there is a NutriSam. NutriSam have proved that the arsenic has get into the food chain. Very interesting paper by the Devapriya Mandal. You can see that, you can read the paper, you can find that they took the food sample from the various, and you find that the arsenic is present in the food sample. But these are the issues which are very sparking issue. It will just going to create a lot of problems in the minds of the people. So these issues, how we can address it without creating any ripples in the society, without creating any cacophony in the society. So that is the major challenge I could see. But the truth is there. There is something in the water quality is there. There is something in the water security is there. So definitely we welcome always the government initiative of Jal Jeevan Mission. So this is one of the challenge. And structural challenge is that when I talk about the structural challenge, the major challenge is that you could see that, you can read the number of literature, that the decentralized water governance, that is completely missing. So I would always say the Bihar government has taken a very, very excellent step by making the ward level implementation management committee accountable for implementing the pipe water supply at the ward level. That is a very excellent step, and it's a unique step all over the India. Two steps that I always say have made the water sanitation hygiene sector very robust in Bihar. One is the decentralization by changing the Panchayati Raj Act, and second is the your Grievance Act, Public Grievance Act. So it's a unique in its kind and unique in terms of mitigation. So Public Grievance Act, and your second is that your ward level implementation committee. But if I talk about the ward level implementation committee's governance structure, they are still need lot of empowerment. If you get back to that thing, the peoples are not properly trained. Peoples who are very much connected to the mukhias, they are implementing the scheme very quickly. The peoples who are in the field of water aid, right? I could say that you can go to the villages in the block Bilaganj or in the area, you can find that water aid done a very good example with a ward level implementation management committee in managing a large pipe water supply. So the CSOs were present over there, they give a lot of handholding to the ward level implementation. And the Aga Khan AKRSP had done a very excellent work in field that they have handled the ward level implementation management committee. So these are the very exemplary experiences which they have done. But the major problem is that if I go to some of the critics, still they are into the process of getting support from the PhD or Rural Development Department. So the decentralized water governance is one of the part, and second I already talked about the thematic part. So these are the things, and the constraint that we have followed exactly the same thing is that people still feel the water is free. You don't have to pay the water, or you see the water is very much free. Water is abundant. Water is something which is available, and we should go for the deeper ground level water. Surface water is something not good, so we should not use the surface water. So the people's perception is one of the challenge related to the water security, and water quality is I think I could see the very interesting part in the even for the urban area as well as the rural area, the private water vendors. So the private water vendors have penetrated so much in the rural areas as well as the urban areas. The people start purchasing the water in place of 15 and 20 rupees. So if the people are purchasing the water at 15 to 20 rupees, why don't they can't give the user charges to the ward level implementation management committee for sustaining the water? So that's the logic the people should need to be here, and exactly that the message that we want to give, or you see the one of the challenges that we are facing. But yes, we are doing the study, we are doing the assessment, try to bring the people in the assessment. The water that we are provided with the government is very safe, it is reliable, and you need not to be a purchase to some of the water vendors. So these are the few things. I think the constraint part is missing because the time is less, I think.
So I just want to add what Satyajit has said, that regarding the water security. So in our area, in our project area in Shivhar, we are just piloted this thing for water security thing, that integrated water resource management, which is very much required, and it is in the policy from the last 10-15 years in the government of India's policy. And recently in Jal Jeevan Mission, and of course with Bihar's Jal Jeevan Haryali campaign, it is also there how to sustain the water, groundwater, and how to do that it can be sustained for the future. So we are doing one called VWSSP. It is Village Water Safety Security Planning for every ward and every GP in our area. So recently we have done this for 10 GPs in Shivhar, and through this we train the people, train the community and the Panchayati Raj institution members like ward members and Gram Panchayat Mukhia regarding why it is required, why water security is required, and how you can plan this thing for the future, so that our future generation also get money, get water for their use. So we train them, and they themselves, the community themselves, come up with wonderful planning, future planning of that for water security, and it is also incorporated in the GPDP plan, Gram Panchayat Development Plan, which is the mandatory thing for getting Finance Commission money. So it is incorporated in that, and they are doing this thing. And we also have this district level orientation with district magistrate and DDC also, and other government officials also present there, as well as in the blocks, in the 5 blocks also. So we are trying to capacitate as well as orient them and make them sensible, sensitize the government officials and the community as well regarding this security of water and sustainability of water. So this thing I just want to add.
I think one of the challenge in this sector, if you see about the wash sector, is that wash sector is really being confronted by the 2 areas of thought. One thought is that it's a very engineering driven sector, so it's a very hardware driven sector. So if you talk about the peoples who are very technical, say they are doing some research on arsenic in the lab, or the peoples who are doing some research on fluoride in with some human being. So their perception, even the engineers who are implementing a large infrastructure projects, even the lab technicians who were working in the district water quality lab, so their perceptions regarding the community participation, or you say about the decentralized governance or community mobilizations and the behavior change. So that is the areas which these peoples are really need a lot of discussions, lot of orientations, and lot of things. Another set of peoples who are actually into the field of community mobilizations and community gatherings and mobilizing the community with a behavior change, they feel that engineering sectors need to be a little bit sensitive, because we are working with the peoples, not with the hardware. So the peoples who are in the lab-based research, or the peoples who are engineering, who are dealing with you say the non-human beings, say for any hardware structure, they need to get sensitized that there is a peoples involved, their participation matter, their mobilization matters, and definitely both the peoples, both the end need to be matched at one point. So you could see that there is a drastic change in the changes in the recent, when you talk about the wash sector. So it's really merging, but there are the constraints still there. The peoples are already talking about the engineers, or there are the peoples who are countering with each other. So this is the challenge I think all the peoples in the sectors face when we say that. So my place, if I am an engineer, then somebody say that yes, he knows about everything about the water, he is a hydrologist. But the hydrologist could not be a good community communicator. He would have some limitation with the community understanding. He would have some insensitiveness toward the people from the Mushar community what is speaking. He will say that I know about this recharge and discharging area, and people in the community may not know that. So these both the things need to be matched at one point, and I think this sector need that thing at this stage when you're going towards a completely open market economy.
Thank you, sir, for the very relevant information that you both have provided to us, the challenges, the constraints in the wash sector, the coordination which you mentioned has to be maintained between the engineering-driven wash sector and their sensitization towards community mobilization and sensitivity towards the people. So thanks a lot for being with us, for taking out your valuable time, and for enlightening our viewers about the wash behavioral changes and the various types of wash interventions made by your organizations. Thank you.
Thank you.